They were once perfect, the Emperor's finest. Their armor shone brighter than any star, their discipline unmatched, their devotion absolute. But perfection is a wound that never heals. When the screams began, they did not stop. And what rose from that endless chorus was no longer human. It was music and madness. The ship Veritas Invictus drifted through the void, silent except for the hum of decaying engines. The corridors smelled of oil, incense, and something sweet, too sweet, a scent that clung to the air like rot disguised as perfume. Sergeant Kael moved first. His boots left faint echoes on marble floors once polished to mirror perfection. Statues of the Primarch Fulgrim watched him from every wall, their eyes painted with reverence that had long since curdled into mockery. He remembered when those statues were holy. Now they looked hungry. "Squad, masks on," Kael ordered. His voice rasped through the vox, distorted. Something whispered back through the channel, not static, a laugh. The Emperor's children were known for their pursuit of beauty. Every motion, every kill, every breath was meant to be flawless. But when the line between perfection and corruption broke, they followed pleasure into horror. Their senses sharpened beyond reason. Their pain turned into art. Their screams became symphonies. Kael opened a gilded door. Inside, the walls pulsed like living flesh. Strings of nerve fiber hung from the ceiling, humming with vibration. A figure stood in the center, tall, armored in violet and gold, a mask of porcelain, a hand holding a chain of severed ears. "Welcome, brother," it said. Kael raised his bolter. His finger froze. The voice that spoke was music, layered and soft, every note a whisper of ecstasy and pain. His heart slowed, his thoughts melted. The figure tilted its head. "Don't you remember the song?" Behind it, dozens of figures swayed in silence. Marines, once loyal, now shells painted with madness. Their armor was carved with scars shaped like runes, each one bleeding faintly. When they turned, Kael saw their faces, stitched smiles stretched wide, their eyes gone, replaced with gems that glowed faintly to the beat of an unheard rhythm. Then, the sound began. They no longer fight for the Imperium. They fight for sensation. Every battle is a performance. Every death, a note in a song only they can hear. To the Emperor's children, war is an orchestra. Pain is melody. Suffering, harmony. And the galaxy is their stage. Kael tried to run. His vox screamed with static, 1,000 voices whispering the same word, more. He stumbled through the corridors. The walls bled light. The air throbbed with sound. He reached the hangar. It was full of bodies, hanging, twitching, alive. Wires connected them to great amplifiers. Their throats were torn open, their lungs replaced with machines. Each exhaled a note. Together, they formed a single, constant scream. At the center stood a figure on a throne of twisted bone, taller than any Astartes, cloaked in flowing silk, face painted white with streaks of violet tears. "Kael," it said, "perfection demands sacrifice." He knew that voice, his Primarch, Fulgrim. The Emperor's children were not destroyed. They became something else, something immortal, something that feels forever. If you ever hear music in the void, soft, sweet, and beautiful, run, because beauty kills slower than bullets, and it never lets you go. Perfection was once our creed. We believed it was the highest form of worship. Each strike, each breath, each heartbeat measured, disciplined, flawless. We were the Emperor's children, and we thought beauty could save us. We were wrong. The ship hung before us, half buried in shadow. Veritas Invictus, a relic from the Great Crusade. Its hull once gleamed white and gold. Now it bled rust and violet light, the colors of something half alive. Our orders were clear. Board, search, purge. No contact had come from this vessel for 2 centuries. Imperial augurs picked up weak signals, distorted hymns. "Eyes open," I said through the vox. 5 helmets turned to me. Veterans, my brothers. Each bore the scar of 100 campaigns. Each carried the pride of the 3rd Legion. We crossed the breach. The air was thick and warm. The scent of perfume masked rot. Incense burners still glowed faintly, releasing trails of purple smoke. Corpses lined the hall, but not as we knew them. They were arranged, posed, each one placed with care. One knelt as if in prayer. Another gazed upward, mouth open, a perfect scream carved into the skin. "Emperor's mercy," someone whispered. I said nothing. We advanced. Our boots clicked on marble veined with gold. The sound echoed too long. The architecture was impossible. Curves where there should be corners. Light bending where no source existed. It was beautiful and wrong. A fresco covered the wall. I raised my torch. It showed angels with flayed wings. The pigment shimmered, alive with motion. In the center stood a figure in shining armor, face radiant, holding a sword made of tongues. Fulgrim, our father. But the eyes were different. They looked at me. "Sergeant," came a voice through the vox, static, sharp. "Movement ahead. Hold position." We moved as one. The corridor opened into a hall that stretched beyond sight. Mirrors covered the walls. Each reflection shimmered. But they did not match our movements. One reflection turned its head after I had stopped moving. My throat tightened. "Signal interference," I said, forcing calm. "Ignore it." Inside my helmet, the air felt heavy. My breath came slow. Then a sound reached us. Faint, gentle, strings. Music. Not the martial hymns of the Imperium. This was slower, human, sad. It echoed through the corridors like a memory of something once pure. Private Lauren lowered his bolter. "Sir, it's beautiful." "Focus," I said. "Weapons ready." We followed the sound. The hall narrowed into a chamber where marble turned to flesh, veins pulsed beneath the surface, light shifted in rhythm with the melody. A shape hung in the center, human, or what was left of one. Wires pierced its body, stretching into walls of metal and bone. The wires trembled, producing the sound. It was the music. It was alive. "Contact!" one of my men shouted. Figures moved in the darkness beyond the chamber, slow, graceful, silent, armor of violet and gold. My heart froze. They were Astartes, Emperor's children, but their faces were wrong. Pale, smiling, skin painted in swirling colors. One stepped forward. The helm was carved into a mask. The voice that came through it was melodic. "Brothers, you came home." Lauren raised his bolter. I stopped him. The masked warrior tilted his head. "Do you remember the choir, Kael?" He knew my name. "Identify yourself," I said. A soft laugh. "We are what you left behind." The music swelled, my vision blurred. For a moment I saw the past, parades on Terra, sunlight glinting off gold armor, our father's voice promising perfection. Then the vision broke. The hall around me pulsed like a living organ. The scent of blood and incense mixed until it burned my lungs. "Fall back," I ordered. No one moved. My men stood still, eyes fixed on the masked figure, their hands trembling, their weapons lowering inch by inch. I turned. Lauren's visor reflected light. Behind the glass, his pupils were dilated, his mouth slightly open. He was whispering. I strained to hear. He was repeating one word. "Beautiful." That was the last time I saw my brothers alive, before the music took them. Before I understood what we had become. The music stayed behind when we left the chamber. It followed, soft at first, then louder. It crawled through the vox, through the walls, through our skulls. We walked deeper into Veritas Invicta. Every corridor looked perfect. Polished, symmetrical, glowing faintly with violet light. But every step left a mark of rot. The ship was dying beautifully. We reached the inner sanctum. Doors 10 meters high, carved from white stone, etched with scenes of our triumphs. I touched one panel. The engraving showed us, the Third Legion, kneeling before the Emperor. I remembered that day, the oaths, the pride, the promise. When I pulled my hand away, my glove was wet with blood. "Signal interference increasing," came a voice from the back. It was Varen, reliable, calm. I turned to him. He wasn't looking at me. He was staring at the wall. Faces pressed beneath the surface, mouths open in silent song. Hundreds of them. "Kael!" Varen's voice broke. "They're alive!" The faces moved. Eyes opened. They blinked in rhythm with the music. I raised my bolter. My hands shook. They were not enemies. They were ours. One of the faces whispered through the metal. "Perfection never ends." I fired. The sound drowned in the melody. The wall bled silver. I walked alone. No sound, no pulse, only the soft hiss of my breath inside the helm. The corridors of Veritas Invicta stretched without end, folding into themselves like mirrors turned inward. Every door I passed opened to the same sight. Chambers of still figures, frozen mid-motion, smiling through decay. Each wore the colors of our legion. Each was perfect, in the way a statue is perfect. Cold, empty, silent. The music had stopped, yet I could still feel its memory pressing behind my eyes, a rhythm that my heart refused to forget. I followed it deeper. The path led to the lower decks, to what once was the reclusium. Here the walls were clean, too clean, white stone untouched by time. Fresh candles burned in holders made from glass and bone. At the center stood an altar. Upon it a singly helmet, violet, gold-trimmed, flawless, the mark of a captain of the Emperor's children. I approached. My reflection stared back from the polished surface, but the eyes were not mine. They smiled. When the War Master fell, we said we were loyal. We told ourselves we fought for art, not for chaos. We lied. We wanted to be seen. We wanted the galaxy to look at us and call us beautiful. A voice rose behind me, calm, gentle, familiar. Kael. I turned. No figure, only light, soft, violet, shaped like a man walking out of memory. I said, "Father." Fulgrim's face formed from the glow. Perfect symmetry, eyes that shimmered like glass filled with stars. "You have come so far," he said. His voice held every tone of music at once. "Do you see now what we became? I see what you destroyed." He stepped closer. The light moved across the altar. "Destroyed?" he repeated. "No, my son. We transcended. The Imperium gave us rules. We gave ourselves freedom." I shook my head. "There is no freedom in this." "Then what is this pain you feel?" he asked. "It is the sound of chains breaking." The light touched my armor. It burned and healed at the same time. Visions flashed, our legion marching in gold ranks, cheering crowds on Terra, Fulgrim's smile bright as dawn. Then screams, color, fire. He reached toward me. "Join us, Kael. Hear what perfection truly sounds like." I raised my weapon. My hand trembled. "I hear enough," I said. I fired. The bolt vanished into the light. No explosion, no smoke. Only a ripple, like stone dropped into water. When the glow cleared, he was still there, smiling. Every song needs a final note. You are mine. The floor beneath me opened. Light poured upward. Voices rose again, hundreds, thousands, singing one endless chord. I fell. The core of the ship waited below, a sphere of glass suspended by chains. Inside it floated the choir. Not corpses, not living, something between. They moved like waves. Their faces changed with every breath. Men, women, warriors, saints, sinners, all merged into one continuous form. They sang without mouths. They saw without eyes. They were beauty and horror made the same. At the center of them all was light, warm, inviting. It spoke without sound. Be still. I should have turned away. Instead, I removed my helmet. The air was warm, filled with the scent of incense and metal. Every scar on my body pulsed in rhythm with the light. You tried to be perfect, it said. Be complete instead. I dropped to my knees. For the first time since I was a child, I cried. The tears fell into the glass beneath me. They glowed. A memory rose from the light. Terra, long ago. Fulgrim kneeling before the Emperor, swearing to protect mankind. I had stood behind him that day. We believed his words. We thought beauty could save us from cruelty. Now beauty had devoured us. I looked into the core. Inside it, I saw my brothers, the ones who followed me here, the ones who sang until death. They reached toward me, faces calm, eyes peaceful. Join us, they whispered. For a moment, I wanted to. No fear, no pain, only stillness. Then I heard another sound. A heartbeat. Mine. Ragged, human, imperfect. I clung to it. It reminded me of who I was. Sergeant Kael, a son of the Emperor, not a note in a song. I stood. The light dimmed. The whispers grew sharp, angry. Leave, you are dissonance, they said. I turned my back to the core and began to walk. Every step was heavy, every breath a struggle. The ship trembled, the hymn rising to a scream. I reached the corridor. Behind me, the sphere cracked. The sound that followed was not music. It was silence breaking. When the storm cleared, I was drifting in the void. My armor torn, my mind hollow. The Veritas Invictus burned behind me, falling toward a dead star. I don't know how long I floated. Hours, days, centuries. I only remember the quiet. I still hear the echo sometimes, soft, distant, beneath the hum of my respirator, a melody without end. Aftermath. They found me 3 months later, or so the Medicae told me. To me, it felt like 3 lifetimes. I was drifting near the edge of the Gathis belt, half dead, my armor blackened, vox silent. A patrol frigate of the Imperial Navy picked up the distress beacon. When they pulled me aboard, I screamed until my lungs failed. They said the sound was not a scream. They said it was a song. They brought me to a fortress hospital on Cadenti Prime. No windows, walls of stone, candles instead of lights. A place for things that were not supposed to survive. They told me I was lucky, that I had escaped something no man should see. They were wrong. You cannot escape something that sings inside your bones. The first week, I slept in silence. The second, the silence began to speak. At first it was whispers, my name, then chords, then melodies I could not forget. When I tried to tell them, they called it trauma. When I sang the notes, they sedated me. When I stopped, they watched me harder. The chaplain came next. Black armor. Crozius held like a weapon instead of a symbol. "Brother Kael," he said, "do you remember your oaths?" I said yes. "Then why did you survive?" I didn't answer. Every night I dream of the ship, the light, the faces in the walls, Lauren's voice calling the music beautiful. I wake with blood in my ears. The Medicae say it's nothing, but I know what I hear. The choir is still singing. They tested me. Psi scans, purity checks, confession rites. Every result came back clean. Too clean. His soul is untouched, they said. But when they left the chamber, I saw their eyes. They were afraid. They kept me isolated. Days without human voices, only the sound of the ship's systems, the hum of machines, the whisper of ventilation. After a while, even those sounds began to change. The rhythm aligned, a pattern formed. 1, 2, 3, rest. 1, 2, 3, rest. Music again. One night I asked to see the stars. The guards refused. They said exposure could trigger hallucinations. So I closed my eyes and imagined them instead. Each one a note, each note a memory. And then I understood. The choir never wanted to keep me. They wanted me to carry them. Their song needed a voice, a bridge to the living. I was that bridge. The chaplain returned on the 30th day. He asked the same question. Why did you survive? I looked at him and said, because they let me. He tightened his grip on the Crozius. What are you, Sergeant? I said, I am loyal. I am faithful. He didn't believe me. Neither did I. They will never release me. The Inquisition is coming. I can feel the warp react to my thoughts, as if waiting for the song to begin again. I tell myself I won't sing, that I'll keep it buried. But sometimes when the candles burn low, the air hums with the faintest vibration, and my lips move on their own. The first note escapes before I can stop it. It sounds small, harmless, almost human. Then the walls tremble. If anyone hears this record, burn it. Burn everything that bears my name. Do not look for the Veritas Invictus. Do not follow the song. It does not end. It waits. It listens. It learns. And when the silence grows too deep, it begins again. They moved me to another world. Said the silence of Cadenti Prime was unhealthy, as if silence was ever the problem. The new place was brighter. White walls, chrome floors, a Medicae wing buried under the spires of a hive city called Epsilon Mortis. I could hear everything. Machines breathing, fluids moving, wires humming like nerves. They thought the sound would comfort me. They were wrong. The first time it happened, I was in the chapel. The choir was singing the Emperor's hymn, voices flat, hearts empty, like every imperial ceremony I'd ever endured. Then one of the novices sang a note that didn't belong. Sharp, beautiful. For a second, I forgot to breathe. It hung in the air like something alive. Then the others followed. Their pitch adjusted on instinct. The melody changed. I knew that sound. It was the same rhythm that pulsed through my skull since Veritas Invictus. The song had found them. They stopped singing, looked around, confused. No one spoke, but their eyes shone as if they'd glimpsed something divine. I stood there, trembling. Every muscle in my body wanted to run, but my legs wouldn't move. The chaplain noticed me from across the hall. He knew. He could feel it too. That night, they locked me in my quarters again. No explanation, no light, no silence either. Somewhere deep in the vents, the melody began again. Soft, mechanical, but unmistakable. They tried to trace the interference. Said it was a data bleed in the Vox circuits. They ran diagnostics for days. No fault found. The melody kept returning. Always the same 4 notes. Always in perfect time with the ship's reactor pulse. And then, one night, it changed. The tone stretched, folded, echoed itself, like an intelligence learning its own voice. I realized it wasn't in the machines. It was in me. Every time I breathed, the pitch shifted slightly. When my heart beat faster, it harmonized. When I closed my eyes, I could hear an entire choir singing along. They were waiting for me to join. I tried to warn them. I told the Medicae chief the melody was spreading. She smiled and wrote something on her slate. A note, a tone, a word, maybe both. I told the guards next. They laughed, until the next morning when one of them was found humming in his sleep. Then the humming spread to the ward, to the officers, to the Vox network. No one noticed it first. It was subtle, harmless, a hum at the edge of the mind. Then it grew stronger. Within a week, entire Vox transmissions began carrying it. Distress calls, astropathic relays, even prayers. The choir's music had no language, but everyone understood it. It made them feel something. Peace, longing, desire. That was the trap. The human mind craves order, and the song gave them order. Perfect, endless, consuming order. I watched them fall into it. Officers forgetting their names, priests abandoning sermons mid-sentence, medicae standing in corridors, heads tilted, listening to walls. The melody had become the hive's heartbeat. They came for me again. Inquisition this time. Black seals, red lenses, no faces. Sergeant Kael, the lead interrogator, said, voice metallic, "You were exposed to heretical influence aboard the Veritas Invictus. You brought it back with you." I wanted to deny it, but I could hear it pulsing behind his words. Even he was infected. I told him to burn the city. He didn't respond. He just stared, then whispered, "Beautiful." The Vox lights above us flickered. Every frequency merged into one pure tone. The floor trembled. Then the song began again, louder than ever, spilling through the hive like a living storm. I don't know how far it reached. Epsilon Mortis is gone now. They say it was cleansed, exterminatus our orbital strike. But sometimes I still receive Vox echoes when I sleep. Fragments of transmissions long dead, carried on radiation, memory, or something worse. And in every signal, I hear them. The choir, the Emperor's children, and the song they left behind. They promised me it would never end, and they were right. Because the song is no longer theirs, it's ours.